citizens who desire to address the city council.
They give you a script.
A little bit, I made notes, this was a long time ago, but this first statement is not any one of option 1, 2, or 3. So it makes no sense for me to read either any one of these. It's what option 1, 2, and 3 is telling the public how they have to submit requests to talk. Is anybody here to do it? So that's why I brought my.
Who prepares the secretary?
It's Jonathan or Devin, Elizabeth.
Yes, ma'am.
Who prepares these?
We're
Who
live.
writes it all up?
All staff.
Amy, we're live.
We actually.
For live.
It's 4:00.
All right. I'd like to call the Sugarland 4B Corporation meeting to order on this Wednesday, September 15th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Citizens who desire to address the City Council Board and or Commission with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and or received at this time. Is there anyone that's here to present to the board? All right. Let's go to the next item, which are the minutes. Consideration of an action on the minutes of the August 18th, 2021 meeting. Are there any additional corrections or comments around the minutes?
Motion to approve by Carol.
We've got a motion to approve by Director McCutcheon, a second by Director Atkinson. Go around to poll. Director Kamali.
Aye.
Director Watley.
Aye.
Director Saunders.
Aye.
Director McCutcheon.
Aye.
Aye.
And I approve as well. The motion carries unanimously. All right, the next one, consideration of an action on the City of Sugarland Resolution number 2021-09-10, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund perimeter fencing to be located along Bernie Road between Gatway, Lakes Drive, and Glen, Laurel under the council policy regarding participation with community-based organizations in capital improvement projects using 4B corporation funds and repealing resolution 2021-02-02. Whitney presenting.
Good afternoon, board members. Just as a refresher, the Joint CFP program is a grant program that supports community-based organizations by funding public improvement projects that enhance the community. As you may remember, in fiscal year 2020 and 2021, Joint CFP program budgets were combined to fund all 11 eligible projects we received in the 2020 application process. So as you can see here, the budget is a total of $400,000 with an additional $52,920.59 from reserved opportunities. To date, 6 of these projects are underway, meaning that each community organization has signed their agreement with the city and work has begun on the project. These projects include the landscaping enhancement projects and as well as the park playground. The 5 remaining projects that have not begun work are the 5 fence projects. Because of the nature of the projects and the process required in order to sign an agreement with the city to build each fence, these projects are taking a little more time to process by each applicant. Staff has been in constant communication with each applicant, and each project is moving along well. All 5 projects have submitted their surveys. However, they each have a few pending items left in order to sign their agreement with the city. Oops. All right. So this brings us to the first funding resolution that I'm presenting today. In February, if you can remember, the board approved resolution number 2021-02-02, funding the Gatway Lakes Estates Fence Project. Just as a note, the Gatway Lakes project was approved in a separate funding resolution because a board member had to recuse himself from that project. So we did it separately. This resolution provided Gatway Lakes with a deadline of September 30th, 2021 to complete the following. Obtain a survey for improvements, which they have already. Obtain and submit a no objection letter or consent to encroachment from each utility, from each entity with utility facilities located within any public utility easement, as well as obtain and submit an easement or consent to encroachment from any easement holder or private property owner. And lastly, enter into an agreement with the city. So today I bring you resolution number 2021-09-110 for approval, which would keep all terms and conditions the same as the previous resolution, but just extend the deadline to December 31st.
Is that enough time for them to finish the project?
Yes, we have communicated with them and they said that it's enough time, so. And just as a refresher, this is Gatway Lake project. It consists of the final phase of a brick wall installation on Barrington Road between Gatway Lakes Drive and Glen. And with that, staff recommends approval of resolution number 2021-09-1. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Director Watley approved, Director Saunders second, Director Kamali,
Aye.
Director McCutcheon,
Aye.
Director,
Aye.
Director Saunders,
Aye.
and Director Watley.
Aye.
And I approve. The motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to the next item, consideration of an action on the City of Sugarland Resolution number 2021-09-11, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund perimeter fencing in the Barrington Place, Ashford Lakes, Chimney Stone, and Settlers Park subdivisions under the council policy regarding participation with community-based organizations in capital improvement projects using 4B corporation funds and partially repealing resolution number 2021-02-03. Whitney.
All right, good afternoon again. So this is the continuation of the joint CIP fence project deadline extensions. And now we have resolution number 2021-02-03, which funded fence projects for Ashford Lakes, Barrington Place, Chimney Stone, and Settlers Park with a deadline of September 30th, 2021 to complete the surveys, consents, and/or no objections, and enter into an agreement with the city. And today I bring you resolution number 2021-09-11 for approval, which again would keep all the terms and conditions the same and just extend the deadline to December 31st.
Any questions?
One more slide.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh. And this is just a review of all the projects. It's amazing with your question. Okay, and with that, I recommend approval of resolution number 2021-09-.
Any questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Director McCutcheon. A motion to approve, Director Watley second, Director Saunders.
Aye.
Director Kamali,
Aye.
Director Atkinson,
Aye.
Director Watley,
Aye.
Director Saunders. Director McCutcheon, sorry.
Aye.
And I approve as well. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Whitney.
all.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to the next item. Workshop item, review of and discussion on a proposal from Development Counselors International for the Office of Economic Development's Fiscal Year 2022 Integrated Marketing Program. Melissa Raju, Tourism and Visitor Services Manager, and Kat Saunders, DCI Senior Vice President of Client Strategy, will be presenting. Apparently along with Elizabeth.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon and thank you for your time today. Our next steps with the integrated marketing plan are to discuss building off of the foundation laid over the last 2 years. As you might recall, we have completed our new website in the spring of 2020, began our first year of foundational work with DCI in the fall of 2020, and then began our workforce and target industry analysis in the spring of 2021. So we are now prepared to move on into our next year with DCI to leverage these building blocks and strategic decisions to further our position as an economic powerhouse. And now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and to Kat. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Before we discuss what's in store for year 2, I will review what was contractually obligated and what was ultimately delivered for year 1. To kick things off, 3 to 4 virtual immersion tours were contracted, but DCI completed 12 virtual immersion tours to help us generate story ideas. As proposed after the completion of the virtual tours, DCI committed to developing a total of 3 to 5 theme lines, but delivered 8 theme lines, which would help us target niche economic media outlets. One of the benefits of the virtual immersion tours is that it helped DCI cultivate relationships with local businesses and helped us identify local spokespeople for media opportunities. Soon thereafter, DCI built a media list with a tiered local to national approach, as was committed to in the contract. As part of the immersion tour deliverables, DCI ramped up proactive and reactive pitching and committed to generating a total of 5 to 7 national stories about SLTX. After developing the theme lines, we so far have secured a total of 3 national stories, as you can see on the screen. Additionally, it's also worth noting that DCI helped generate regional stories focusing on the Sweet Cash program, which was the initial focus during the first 3 months of the contract. Currently, they are proactively pitching a story about the diversity in Sugarland's business and business community. Just these 3 stories generated close to 48 million impressions and generated close to $500,000 in ad value, which essentially tells us approximately 48 million people were exposed to this content. And this also means we didn't have to spend the amount in advertising buys. To help us continue to drive a positive conversation on social media, DCI committed to activating our Twitter account. And as contracted, DCI committed to providing weekly social media content and recommendations on increasing engagement, and also created content that could be cross-promoted on the Visit Sugarland Tourism brand channels. As of note, we have seen a significant increase in our engagement in our LinkedIn social accounts due to DCI's consistent engagement on the platform. As you can see from the slide, we did receive a question regarding our LinkedIn's total impressions and engagement count based on the memo that we sent out last week. And I want to showcase this slide so you can see the successes and to help clarify any questions. Because of DCI support, we have seen a 32% increase in followers, 173% increase in impressions, 156% in total engagements, and a 7.3 increase in engagement rate. And without DCI, we wouldn't have been able to achieve this success. As part of building a firm foundation, we knew back in 2019 that we needed to create a digital advertising strategy to generate leads for business investment. I'm sorry, I keep messing up the slides. But DCI committed to developing a strategy that kicked off in January of this year and was activated in March of this year, consisting of activating a Google paid search campaigns, the optimization of our website and paid campaigns to ensure the best possible placement of major search engines based on keyword search. Some of the target industries that they're targeting are engineering, biotech, HQ, relocating, just to name a few. As you see here on the screen, there are 2 examples of some of the paid search campaigns that we're currently running. There was also a need to develop a communication piece with our external stakeholders on timely news. DCI committed to distributing 2 to 3 newsletters a month, and so far have distributed a total of 32 newsletters, exceeding the initial expectation of the service. Additionally, DCI committed to conducting an initial audit of all of our marketing collateral and committed to 50 hours of creative support and have delivered 88 hours to date. DCI committed to providing a monthly report capturing media results, digital ad conversions, social media performance, and e-newsletter performance. Staff will use these reports to provide an end-of-year marketing report post the completion of year one. As part of the contract, DCI committed to providing counsel, support, and ongoing communications with the team. And due to DCI's economic development experience with a multitude of economic development organizations like the state of Texas, we go to them for counsel on a handful of things. So far, we have bi-weekly meetings where we discuss upcoming and ongoing projects. DCI rather responds very quickly to all of our requests, and it's been a very positive experience working with them thus far. We have also consulted on advertisement placement, which has yielded leads for us. And finally, DCI committed to arranging one-on-one virtual meetings with 3 to 5 selection consultants. So far, DCI has coordinated a total of 5 meetings. These meetings are important because they help us cultivate relationships with site selectors. And through these relationships, we are introduced to key decision makers that generate leads. Currently on the docket for activation is the final deliverable of newsletters to site selectors. And with the expectation of the service, all other key contractual services were delivered as expected. Additionally, it is important to note that for the first 3 months of this contract, DCI's efforts were focused on the successful implementation of Sweet Cash, and truly has only had 9 months to implement the services I just outlined. I would like to note that all the contractual services were delivered as expected. I bring back this original slide from when we reviewed the contract with the board last year. Of the $238,000 contract in year one, which was evenly split amongst the corporations, we have expensed a little less than $207,000, yielding a savings of $31,000. As you can see, we have generated tremendous momentum, creating the marketing foundation as part of our multi-tiered approach to fulfilling our vision of becoming an economic powerhouse. These deliverables will not only help us continue our marketing efforts for the Office of Economic Development accomplishments, but will also complement the forthcoming results of the Phase 1 workforce and target industry study. Now I will turn it over to Kat Saunders with DCI, who will focus on highlighting what to expect in year 2. Kat?
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you everyone for your time. So looking ahead to fiscal year 2022, we are looking at, as Melissa said, building on the program, but really elevating all the aspects that we've created and established to kind of push Sugarland out into the universe. We noticed that during the pandemic, we really saw that there were some gaps in what we needed and what you could deliver to business executives or when you were shortlisted for an RFP. So we've really honed in on some of the areas where there are gaps in deliverables for your key target audiences. And then also we just really want to get your digital front door elevated. It is important to continually refresh what that looks like and to elevate content on your website, using that as a driver of conversion. So this program forecasted for next year will do just that. Next slide, please. As I've mentioned before, we've built out a team. You often see me, but behind the scenes, we have at least a dozen people supporting this account. We have specialists in digital. You'll see my colleague, Steve Duncan, who really oversees the good work that's being done on the digital ad campaign. Terry Candell, she handles all of our administrative work for the program, which is essential for use of public funds and to be very mindful of that. We have a design team with experienced designers, both Luther and Ches, who work on very quick responses for, last minute things that are needed for either social media or for advertisements or for the city resources. Karina, Max, and Brooke, who have been on the ground with me in Sugarland, are deeply connected to this program, have expertise in both media and social media, and so really help to deliver on those core public relations deliverables. Next slide, please. So continuing the momentum as Elizabeth kind of set this up, we will continue to refresh your storylines. A lot of times, you know, you'll say, oh, we're a great place to do this. And then next thing you know, those storylines have evolved. So what we will do, and especially with the pandemic, is to make sure that we're constantly refreshing those storylines. You know, what active companies are part of our program for this year. We want to get people back on the ground again. We want to get journalists visiting. We truly believe that visiting a place is the best way to experience that content. And so we will make sure that we get people on the ground again. We will continue to optimize digital. I'll go through that in a little more detail. And then also, as you know, we had an in-person visit earlier just a month ago. Next slide, please. The proactive and reactive pitching will continue as part of the core media relations program. And this is where a lot of time is spent. Proactive pitching is where we're taking a story and crafting it. So really organically creating that narrative. We want to drive the narrative about Sugarland and not let other people do it. So this is how we do it, is by crafting these storylines that play to your strengths and also message to gaps in perception that are out in the audience. Reactive pitching is because we represent places, we get a lot of leads that come to us. You know, can you give me an example of this? Can I talk to an airport executive about this? We will often tee those up to the team, and if time allows, you know, we're able to get our spokespeople connected with reactive opportunities. We leverage market research. So DCI does a lot of deep diving on what trends are in both corporate for corporate location executives and for site selection consultants. And so we're constantly reporting back to the team on the ground, you know, what to play up right now, what to say about your workforce. These are what we're seeing, how people are digesting information. So we're sharing all that research that we do as part of the way to drive this entire campaign. We like to say that we're rooted in research. We also amplify announcements, and Sugarland has had a nice stream of expansions lately. We're working with the teams there. The nice thing is, we've connected with a lot of the corporate communications executives in the area. So we're able to partner with them on getting the word out and kind of defining how we can best get the city message out there. And again, as I mentioned, getting people on the ground again, getting journalists to visit, coordinating those visits to experience Sugarland. Next slide, please. The media relations goal is really 5 to 7 national stories. And I'll just point out that's national. We like to set national goals, but also we are constantly supporting local, state, regional media relations support, whether that's, running through a press release and trying to find ways to insert more messaging that relates to economic development in that, or whether that's supporting, some of your placemaking initiatives and things like that that need to get out regionally. We're always there to support that. But the eye on the prize is really to get you into that national media landscape. Next slide, please. Expanding the site consultant outreach, we found is important. The team had a core group of consultants that they were familiar with and that was always coming to Sugarland, but we found that we needed to really expand that web of a network. So we will continue to set those one-on-one appointments and do the e-newsletters as discussed previously. But I want to call attention to the one-pagers. This was a gap that we identified during the pandemic, is we were unable to have both a conversion metric on the industry pages, but also if someone called Devin Rodriguez about a life sciences project, she didn't have like a quick resource in a digital format that she could quickly share with that prospect or that consultant. So we are going to arm the team with those resources and highlight your key target sectors. We will take into account what EY is doing with the workforce study and make sure that we're aligned on where the messaging that's coming out of that, but also making sure that we're focused in on the right target sectors. Next slide, please. The digital advertising will continue, and this is an area where we've really been able to help guide the team on how to best use content to get your front door in front of people. We're doing that right now through Google and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, as you know, we can hyper target. I've mentioned this a million times. It's expensive, but you can really target people on LinkedIn. And then also with Google, we're working with search terms that are trending. So, you know, biotech in Houston or things like that that relate to your target sectors, and making sure that the first thing that people see is Sugarland. And you might wonder why I say Houston, and I've explained this to some of you, but we were finding that there was a knowledge of the Houston MSA, but not an immediate knowledge by outside audiences of Sugarland. And so our goal is to make sure when people think Houston, they think Sugarland. Next slide, please. We'll continue to grow your organic content. So this has been a really nice way for the Office of Economic Development to get business-focused messaging out there. And again, you know, these are channels separate from the city channels. So rather than a key audience of residents, this key audience is playing to business executives, other investors outside the area, educational contacts, you know, people who want to know about workforce, what's trending in kind of larger industry groups. So we're really focused on that external audience and making sure that we're sharing good content about Sugarland on all of the social channels. We're also able, and I always like to say, when I present this at the International Economic Development Conference, social media is an excellent business retention tool. People like to have their messages amplified. So we are working with the team to be sure that we're sharing other corporate citizens and other individuals who are doing great things in Sugarland. We are using these channels to amplify that. And that is a wonderful way to shout out your existing businesses who can expand and grow in the city. Next slide, please. And I wanted to call particular attention to, I know previously there were some questions on how do the two programs differ. They really, year one is really that foundational work as we talked about, but let me call out these things because I think it's important to consider why we've added them to the program. The video content, the city has said numerous times they have lots of excellent B-roll. The problem is it's just kind of sitting, and we'd like to take all of that and mash it together and create some digestible video that we can use in both social media, we can use in prospect meetings, you know, really take all of that content that's already there, and we'll be splicing and dicing all of that and putting it into a format that people can use more often. The one-pagers I mentioned when I talked about site consultants, but this is really to give the team not only something to share when they have a quick ask, but also to see those conversions. So if someone downloads the manufacturing one-pager on your website, we're able to see that conversion. So we see that in the month of, you know, January, we had 35 executives download the manufacturing one-pager. That gives us customer behavior predictions. And so we will work to get those one-pagers up so that we can not only track them, but serve as a resource for the team. The other thing that we're doing is adding some support along the RFI, RFQ, RFP request. So we're able to really take your visuals and bring them to life when you are shortlisted for a project. You know, we'll work with the team. We help provide data and other, you know, items that are important to really highlight in those RFPs. We will work on the decks, work on the talking points, those types of things to really support the team and put them at that international level that they want to be when they're competing with places like the Research Triangle. And then also creating content to drive traffic. So news stories. When you launch a website, oftentimes people will say, to launch, we need 5 success stories, or, you know, we want to put 6 examples on. What we need to do is keep breathing life into the new website that you've put so much time and so much, you know, so many resources in. So we will continue, as we've met people and worked with people throughout the city, we will be creating profiles and adding news stories. You know, we had the Skeeters, we told the Skeeters story from an economic development angle. That was a new piece of content. So all of those new stories will help drive traffic to the website, keep things fresh, and really use that website as a tool for business attraction and expansion. Next slide. Thank you. I also wanted to call out with the team is that expenses are back into the program. Obviously, there was a reason they were pulled out or lowered in the previous year. Fresh marketing materials will continue to provide guidance and support. We're not afraid to tell people that things aren't working right now. You know, certain pieces aren't working in the market. So we will provide counsel on that and also provide support around those pieces of material that need to be shared. This year we'll be providing some communication support to the Visit Sugarland team and also business development support, and that plays back into the RFP and RFQ request. Next slide. And I'll turn it back to Melissa. Thank you.
Once again, the year 2 contract is for a 12-month integrated marketing program with an overall cost of $361,540. That includes similar services from year 1 and several new services like video content creation, industry one-pagers, website optimization, and more that Pat just reviewed. So with SL4B funding, an additional $20,000 to support marketing activations for Sugarland's hospitality business community, like hotels and our destination venues. Next steps, on September 7th, we took this presentation to the SLDC, and today we're presenting it to you. And the next steps are to have a joint SLDC and SL4B meeting on October 5th for the contract consideration. Any questions?
We've heard this 3 times. Yeah, I will make a comment if you don't mind. So we've heard this 3 times. And I keep writing down the 3 points that, number 1, we needed to understand the support for this or why we needed to have it was number 1. And you came back with a lot of research, so that was good. We needed tangible evidence, and you gave us the reports last week, so thank you for that. And number 3, we needed to be able to justify the cost. And every time we have a meeting, we're getting closer to that. So I appreciate all the work you've done. I know you're trying to like, oh, again. So every time you come back, you've given us more evidence and more research and more justification for being here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's music to my ears.
Well, you're doing your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Just for the rest of the board, we did go over this in SLDC, as Melissa said, and this was the info that I know I was asking for in the last 4B meeting, and it was presented really well and taken well by the SLDC last week. So I know I'm the one that tabled it in the 4B meeting, but Melissa and team have done a great job, and Kat as well, to make me feel a lot more comfortable and at the other SLDC members. So I think I'm good with everything, and I look forward to hopefully approving it here on October, whatever that date was, at the joint meeting.
Also, thank you for responding to my question so quickly, because I didn't think it presented it to the way, at least the initial documents, the way you really wanted to. And then when you changed it to show the total amount, that was a much more positive view. So thank you.
Thank you. And that was a complete oversight to just send you a month-to-month
Yeah.
comparison, but I'm glad I was able to answer that question.
So thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I think that's it for you. We'll move on to the next item. Does public hearing, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-09-09, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund permitting, design, construction, enhancement, restorations, and other expenditures necessary or incident to improving the old Imperial Farm Cemetery.
All right, good evening. My name is Doug Brinkley, and I'll be presenting the Old Imperial Farm Cemetery, as you stated, $150,000 request for funding, mostly for design and historical preservation. So a little bit of background information on this project. Do I go right?
Click and then go right.
All right, a little bit of background on this whole thing. It kind of started with the finding of 95 bodies at the construction site before being in the school district site there. It really, I won't read all these bullet points, but really when we started this project, we really were looking to partner with Fort Bend County, the school district, to kind of take care of the bodies. At one point in time, as we were working on this project, those communications or efforts really kind of went by the wayside, and we lost our partners. The intent was, if I can tackle this, the intent was to reinter those bodies at the old Imperial Farm Cemetery. Now, I highlight this because that was really the impetus for us to kind of look at what needs to be done as far as the historical preservation at the cemetery. And that's the number one reason why we're here. As you know, the bodies were related to convict leasing. That was a state program. And there's a lot of controversy in that. At the cemetery right now, we have bodies interred there, and they're both from prisoners, but also guards who actually work at the Central Prison Unit as well too. It is actually in disrepair. This actually post-dated the 95 bodies that was found at the Fort Bend ISD site, but it's part of the same system as well too. So a little bit of background about the property as far as the cemetery itself, which we own from the city, was actually dedicated to us by, I believe, by the developers in the area. It was annexed and actually part of the 65-acre parkland project. The park is yet to be developed. And I believe at one time we have design for that park development. I've got a photo here, at least an overgraph of the site, and I'll show you here. This is actually the old Imperial Farm Cemetery. I believe this is Easton, Chatham, and also University. And here is actually the James Reese site. So you can kind of see where it is in relation to the cemetery itself. So we presented this actually this time last year, September. We had one of the council retreats. And one of the directions that we got back from council was actually to make some improvements to the cemetery. What was our position from the city as far as memorializing the bodies in our cemetery, and actually how we're going to improve the aesthetics of that. Just from a historical standpoint, more could be done to that site. So this is the direction that was given by city council at the time. Let's do something to actually improve the aesthetics, the entrance, the facility itself, but also how do we preserve and enhance the historical site? There's monuments there, there's old fencing, there's new fencing. What parts of that could we actually improve, and what part of those things that we have to keep intact? And also there's needs for parking, access to the site, but also security to the site as well. So this is some of the, we're requesting $150,000 for funding. Now we're using a small portion for design. We have to have experts come in and design what the site looks like, how you access it, memorial parks, benches, but also how we deal with those historical markers as well too. So most of that is in here, but out of the $150,000, I think the first $7,000 to $10,000 is just for the design work itself. And I believe the scope of work should be completed within about 12 weeks. That is yet to be done. That's why we're here to actually procure the funding for this. Now, long term, we're looking for other funding mechanisms as far as grant programs. We have actually contracted with a development group via partnership. Their whole job is to go out and identify grant programs, projects, but also artworks. People who actually deal with arts and actually do those kind of economic development projects as well too. So this is like one portion of the overall long-term project for this 65-acre park. And that graphic that I showed you, the surrounding areas is actually parkland, and that cemetery fits within the scope of that. So our recommendation today is to hold a public hearing and also ask for approval of resolution 2021-0909 in the amount of $150,000 for preservation, but also most importantly, the design work as well too. So I hope I didn't go too fast. Most information is historical I know by heart because I made that presentation many times. I'll take any questions you have at this time.
Okay, first it's, I'd like to open the public hearing at 4:38. Is there anyone here to, okay, then I'd like to close the public hearing at 4:38. Now, consideration of an action on the City of Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution Number 2021-09-09, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund permitting, design, construction, enhancement, restorations, and other expenditures necessary to improving the old Imperial Farm Cemetery. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms.
At what point do we get to see some of the design? So I know you said only a portion of this amount is going to be for the design and the rest for the actual work. So
Yes.
what portion, I know you don't know that portion yet, but do we get to see a design?
Yes, we can bring back, the initial $7,000 to $10,000 is for someone to actually give us consumption designs. But also we're working with the historical district to actually identify what we can do with the markers and then what aspects we can't touch. Now, the $150,000, we anticipated costing far more than that to develop and do the aesthetics of it. But before we can go to the grant projects and actually do artwork, benches and everything else, the actual foundation needs to be worked on. So that $150,000 would actually go toward that initial project. But yes, the initial project to do the design, we can come back with those conceptual drawings and also how it ties into scoping as well.
I think it's time.
I would have liked to have that beforehand, but we don't have the money as of yet to actually pay for the design.
Thank you.
Director McCutcheon, do you have a question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Director Watley approved, Director Atkinson second, Director McCutcheon.
Aye. Sorry.
Director
Aye.
Kamal,
Aye.
Director Saunders,
Aye.
Director Watley,
Aye.
Director Atkinson.
Aye.
And I approve the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Douglas.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next item, which is the quarterly report. Review of and discussion on the fiscal year 2021 third quarter report. Jonathan Soriano presented, but apparently not. Whitney's presenting.
Good afternoon again. I'm subbing in for John. All right, so this presentation will feature highlights from the Sugarland 4B Corporation fiscal year 2021 quarterly report, which covers April through June of this fiscal year. The full report will be sent to you guys electronically later this week. Okay, financial performance for the city's sales tax performance year to date. You'll see page 6 of the report when you receive it. Overall sales tax has been doing great and has bounced back from last year. For example, total sales tax collections year to date for quarter 3 show great results. For the year ending in quarter 3, the city accumulated approximately $7.70 million in additional sales tax revenue over the budgeted amount of $31.5 million. For the full financials, please see the report and feel free to email us if you have any questions. Next, I'll briefly go over quarter 3 metrics for our office, industrial, and retail markets, as well as other business development updates. Oh, wow. Sorry. Next slide, please. Office vacancy has increased from last quarter to 15.9%, which is 2.1% higher than the last quarter. As continued increase in office vacancy is expected, but staff is responsive to every office-related lead received and is actively working with the broker community to activate spaces. This quarter, we have also responded to a few office-related proposals. This increase in office vacancy can be seen in the data for other cities in our MSA as well, and it has been an ongoing trend indicator. Next slide, please. The industrial vacancy rate increased from last quarter due to the newly constructed square footage coming available, such as Sugarland Crossroads, which has a total of 326,807 square feet. However, the vacancy rate remains low at 6.2%. An existing trend of increased industrial space demand continues to be exemplified during the pandemic. A new 320,000 square foot industrial development by Love Industrial LLC at 500 Industrial Boulevard is expected to reach completion this fall. And half of this building is already leased to Boys Cascade as part of an expansion of their business line. And staff also remains focused on how to best utilize our popular business park. Next slide, please. The retail vacancy rate decreased from last quarter by 0.1% and is now 6.9%. As for retail trends, vacancy rate for retail has decreased from 7.4% since fall 2020, which could signal retail recovery. Market rates for retail space have also been trending up, further signifying some increase in demand. Next slide, please. As for tourism, occupancy percent in hotels has increased to 60.40%, significantly higher than the same quarter last year when heavy travel restrictions and lockdowns were in place. The increase in occupancy rates, average daily rates, and revenue per available room is good news for our hotel and tourism industry. Tourism revenues remain lower than budgeted due to the anticipated decline of hot tax. And also the hotels are seeing an increase in demand for future years, but still have a way to go to get back to pre-pandemic figures. Next slide, please. In Q3, staff temporarily pivoted our traditional in-person annual leadership and legacy luncheon to a virtual campaign called Sugarland Strong. The purpose of the campaign was to still have the ability to highlight businesses within our community that exemplify the diversity and quality of Sugarland. During this quarter, staff worked on 5 videos that highlighted businesses with various industry clusters, such as our primary employers, small businesses, restaurants, and our hospitals. And these videos were released on our economic development social media platforms on May 24th through May 28th. The link to watch our videos can still be found on our Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website. So make sure to watch it if you haven't. And they'll also be available on the report when you receive it digitally. The video series features a variety of local Sugarland businesses, such as Live Oak Grill, Blended Coffee Club, Sweet Boutique, Keeper's Japanese Restaurant, Beyond International, King Zebra House of Blooms, HCSS, University of Houston, Memorial Herman, Champion X, Houston Methodist, and Houston Methodist. And this campaign not only provided exceptional footage of our businesses to use in the future, but we also saw a bump in followers on our LinkedIn as a result of the campaign. And the restaurant video garnered the most impressions of all the videos we had. Next slide. Finally, I will review the efforts of our integrated marketing strategy with DCI. Some of this information you already heard, but Sugarland was mentioned in a variety of magazines and news sources such as Houston Chronicle, Reader's Digest, Community Impact, and more. Most notably, with 12.5 million impressions, Sugarland was a finalist in the Nicest Places in America in Reader's Digest, and we have to, unfortunately, though, we have to wait until October to see who won. Hopefully. As for other news highlights for Q3, Sugarland Town Square welcomed a new contemporary art museum called Art Museum TX, featuring artists from Sugarland, Barrington County, and beyond. This project was partially funded by the All Press SLTX placemaking program, and the museum has seen a lot of visitation and rotating art since opening. If you haven't been, you should go to it. Hope Biosciences stem cell treatment has showed promising results for Parkinson's patients. Champion X expanded their corrosion laboratory. Accredio Packaging announced its 4th expansion in the business park, which the city is also supporting through an abatement. And finally, new retail includes Beard Papa's, Gyro King, Service King, Mano Sweets, Sozo Japanese, Steakhouse, Little Joy Snack, and more. And for more details on these news articles and other sections of the report, please see the full report, which will be sent to you electronically. Any questions?
What was I know we're not back to pandemic, but what if you were to go the hotel occupancy 2019 versus 2021? What is the 2019? What was the 2019 number? I didn't see it when you presented. I was just curious.
I don't have the number, but we're not there yet.
Right. I just didn't know how far below. That was what I was just curious. I mean, is our normal occupancy previously 80%? Is it 90? Is it 70? I just wanted to.
Let us crunch the numbers.
Okay.
And then we'll just have it, from there.
Thanks.
I'll go over next.
This is a good question.
Any more questions?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Right. Now we're moving on to the next item, which is the director's report. Elizabeth Huff presenting.
All right, I will keep this brief. I don't have too much, but we are excited to be completing our workforce and target industry analysis and are looking forward to reviewing that with y'all at the next meeting. We'll probably do a joint meeting between both corporations. But wanted to kind of give you a little teaser of what you're here. So as you know, we have a very highly skilled workforce and it's our city's most competitive advantage. Our study found that Sugarland has access to over 500,000 workers with bachelor's degrees or higher within a 30-minute drive, which is 5 times more competitive than our competitive cities in the region. Then our employment has grown by 14.4% since 2015 to 2020, which is pretty substantial. And then also we have a significant number of tech workers that live in Sugarland but do not work here. So an opportunity for us to really target this industry, which if you've heard a little bit, we'll be going after pretty strongly with DCI support. So just a quick teaser. Other than that, some of our, we're still going after lots of different projects and leads. Our travel has, a lot of our conferences have postponed or have gone virtual. So some of the trips that we had actually planned for next week have been postponed, but we're still trying to engage with the site selection and real estate community in other ways. So that's all I've got. We'll see you next month.
All
Thank
right. Do we have a motion to close the session?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.